Hello, everyone. This is Jessie Bowen with the Become an Author podcast. Today, we have another spotlight author. We have Sensei or Sifu Maurice Novoa. How are you doing, sir?
Hi everyone. Hello Jesse, Grandmaster Jesse. I'm great.
Well, that is great. I know, our time. You're in Australia. I'm in the U.S. and I know you're already, waking up to a brand new day. I think we said it's about what 4 a.m. and it's about a little after 1 here. So thank
Yep.
you for making that time to be a part of our podcast. I'm really excited. I just got in a copy of your book the other day, and it's really great. A great comic book, a whole series. And I see a lot more developing from it. So before we really get into the podcast, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into talking about the book.
Okay. Yeah. Look, I immigrated to Australia when I was 4 years old, from originally from Uruguay, born in Uruguay, and came to Australia for a better life as we did. And I started my martial arts at a very young age of 7. Did judo at 7 till I wasn't really anything more to learn. And then I went over to karate and achieved a junior black belt at 12 in karate. And then I discovered Wing Chun when I was 17, and I've been doing that ever since. So going on 32 years now that I've been in Wing Chun Kung Fu. And it's been my lifelong passion. I've been teaching since 2011 in the studio here, which you can see just over here. There.
Wow, it's
Wow.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think when everyone thinks about writing a book and they don't have anything to write about or they aren't able to think about it, a book, but you came up with something unique, something very different. And that's really what is important, especially when you're writing. Now, everybody can have a book out. Can you do something that's unique, something that's different, inspire someone to pick up a book, to be able to read the book? So tell us about your book.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of true life in the book. I mean, I'm not a murderer or anything like that. Like I do kill a few people in the comic, but that's just fantasy. It is based in Jakarta, and I've been traveling to Jakarta for the last 20 odd years. And I started going there in my 20s, and I learned the language, the local original language of Jakarta, which is called Betawi. Hence the subtitle of my comic book, Betawi Avenger, and that's the original inhabitants of Jakarta were the Betawi, and they didn't allow people from the other parts of the region of Indonesia to go in there. They didn't like them. They were very xenophobic, and hence my character is quite xenophobic to foreigners. He doesn't like foreigners coming into Jakarta, and he doesn't allow them to buy into his territory or come in. And Yeah, so it's kind of very very based in Jakarta. So the story is based in Jakarta itself, and yes, I play an evil drug lord. I mean, I'm South American, but I'm not Colombian. I'm Uruguayan, but I play that drug lord character, and it's sort of an anti-hero. It's just in the process I turn into a better person as the story goes along.
Wow. Well, that's really interesting. As I was, reading the book, and it was great. As a comic book, we all have an imagination. Everybody has a fantasy, a daydream, or vision, or whatever they want to call it. And but you're able to take this and turn it into a book. And the book is actually made Amazon's hot new release. It's made Amazon's bestseller category. So, that just goes to the effect of the book, the content of the book, because it's not able to do that unless someone is actually purchasing the book. So, we want to congratulate you on being able to achieve that. And on Monday, coming up, we have a special awards presentation because Saturday is International Authors Day. So we won't be doing it on Saturday. So we're going to try to do something on Monday to present you guys with your author award for achieving bestseller. So when we think about your book, how long have you been thinking about doing it?
Oh, that's a good question. Originally, it's been the process has been a couple of years, so it didn't take a couple of years. But originally, when I wrote it, it took me. I was just brainstorming, and I got up at 3 a.m. in the morning one night, and I put out half the content in like a few hours. It's like it just came to me all of a sudden. It just occurred to me, this idea for this story. um and I originally wrote, it wasn't a comic book I wrote at the beginning, it was a synopsis for a movie. And I've always had these recurring dreams where I was in a movie, starring in a movie, and all of a sudden I just had this idea for this movie, and I wrote a synopsis for the entire movie. It was really great story. And my mum, who's an award-winning Spanish writer, thought, this is such a great story that I think producers might pick it up in Indonesia. You don't really have to promote or do storyboards or anything like that. So I wrote the story. I went to Indonesia. I was a bit disappointed because most of the producers I met, about three producers, they all kind of just wanted money. They weren't really interested in turning the idea or the story into a movie. They were just sort of trying to fishing for money and stuff. And I thought, well, if you're producers, you've got a storyline here. If you think it's good enough, then you should go with it. But no, they sort of were chasing money. They didn't have the funding to make it themselves. So I was a bit disappointed when I came back. And then I spoke to an internet to I mean to an intellectual property lawyer, and I said, look, what can I do about protecting this story? I mean, it's out there now. What's to stop them from going ahead and writing, doing the movie themselves? And he says, well, the only way you can protect it is to
Mm.
publish it as a book, get it published, then it's protected, and it's much easier to protect, and you've got no problem, and then you've got more chance of it getting into becoming a movie once it's out there. So I thought, well, if I publish a short book, I mean, nobody's really into reading these days. So I thought, well, why not a comic book? Comic book, it's action. There'll be Wing Chun in it. There'll be fighting and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, well, make a comic book. So I tracked down someone in Argentina. Uh, Obviously, lower overheads in Argentina than Australia. And he gave me a really good price for the comic book, and it took him several weeks. He was doing about 2 pages a week, and so it took him quite some time to come up with the story. I mean, this not the story, the illustrations.
Mhm.
I gave him images of actual people, which was easier for him to do rather than imagine the characters himself. And yeah, one of the characters is an Indonesian celebrity, um, a singer, and in the end, there's a grand finale. There's a Hollywood icon, which I won't say who it is. It's a cliffhanger that comes in and saves me in the end. So it's I think once it's out there, I definitely think someone will pick it up to turn it into a movie, because after each volume, it's a real cliffhanger. It just makes you want to keep reading. What's next? What's next? What's next? That's how I've kind of written it, so that you finish one volume, you want to read the next one. Did you get that, Jesse, Grandmaster, when you read it? If you felt like you wanted to click and buy the next one?
Yeah, but that's what you really want to do.
Yeah.
A lot of times I meet with clients and they've got so much content that they're giving away too much. So I have to try to convince them, why don't we, break this content down into a couple projects? because
Mm.
now the story takes on a whole nother phase. You don't have to dump it all in like says another sequence. And I know for me, I really hate to get involved with the different episodes. I go to uh, Netflix and I'll jump on one. I want to be through with it in an hour, but there's these series I can't
Yeah,
let go.
yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
trying to find the end of it, and so
Mm,
I'll stay up 4 hours, 5 hours watching this. I'm going, okay, where's the end of this here? But
mm,
it's so intriguing that it
mm,
makes me want to stay there because I've got to find the end. So that's how
yeah,
your book is. It opens the door for the next. And I think it's really a great idea. I know when I was growing up, comics were really big. You had your superheroes, and these are really still big now for adults and kids, and the creativity of moving forward. And again, you're looking for what your book does. It's a door opener to something bigger, and
yes.
that's one of the things about writing a book. You're looking for the door that opens to something bigger. I,
Mm,
I, I generally I tell folks that I'm not really worried about the $19 book, but I'm looking for the $5,000 opportunity that $19 book provided. So
mm,
that is one of the key powers of a book. It opens the door to something much bigger. And
mm,
people ask, well, how do you become an author with Elite Publications? Now I know, sir. We have had a background of supporting each other, doing things, and really have never really met each other other than through video conference or telephone calls
mm,
in there. But you know, if someone is looking to publish your book and you're not certain how to get started or you don't know what to do, then you can reach out to us. Reach out to us as a martial artist, or no matter whatever subject you want, genre you want to write in, then we can support you being able to do that. And I know
yes.
you did a lot of precautions to protect your work, and that's another big subject because I mean authors that have published a book before, they've gone through a publishing company, and they actually lose the rights to their books because the publisher puts his ISBN number there, doesn't do his copyright, they don't do the ABCs, and you did a great job of your ABCs, and that's one of the reasons why when we set you up with your own platform. We don't deal with your money. All the revenues that come in from your project goes directly to you. Order as many books as you want to order, and so all those things really work. So I really want to commend you of protecting yourself with
Thank
your
you.
material.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was one of the very interesting things and important things about getting a comic book made is initially I went onto a platform where there was a lot of comic book writers on there, and apart from being quite expensive, they weren't willing to give away the full copyright to their works, and you kind of have to twist their arms. And what that normally happens, and what they can do is, say my book goes according to plan and it becomes a movie, and I get a windfall of millions of dollars. I mean, one movie, Netflix is paying for $100 million for a decent movie nowadays. So if I get a windfall like that, the artist that wrote my comic book will come back and put a lawsuit on me and claim money from me from that book, saying that book was a huge success. I only got $150 a page, $200 a page, and now it's worth millions. I want more money. So unless they sign a waiver or a release, a copyright release with their name, address, phone number, email address, and signature, then you are liable. And a lot of them don't do that. So I was lucky. I mean, look, if I get a windfall, I'll be sending a few dollars his way for the artist his way, obviously. But if you don't do that, you are liable down the track if it does become a success. So you have to be very wary of what you're doing in terms of copyright. And then also the comic book itself, you have to be careful of which names you use, if there anyone famous in there. I was lucky for the grand finale to be able to use the name of a Hollywood icon, which is fantastic, and that was just I think I got lucky. I think I got lucky in that sense. But yeah, that it was a long process. But I do have trademark to make the film in Australia, so I've taken out trademarks too to film it in Australia. We can film in Jakarta. It's only 7 hour flight from here, so I think it's a plan in process.
So tell us about the character's journey in the book, and in what way does this transformation reflect the martial artist's path of discipline and mastery?
Yes, it's a sort of story of good and evil. I think it's a story of betrayal, alliances, an anti-hero, someone who's gone to the dark side and then slowly becomes better. There's the Pope, which comes in and plays a part in it, which is very interesting. He just happened to have visited the late Pope Francis had visited Jakarta, and it was around the same time that I wrote the book, and I sent the transcript of that episode of that series where the Pope enters into the story, and I sent it to a few of my friends in Jakarta, and they believed it was true. They thought it was true. They said, "Did this actually happen?" And, and I said, "No, no, he just happened to visit." And when he was visiting, I was halfway writing the book, and when he visited, I thought, "Oh, he's visiting Jakarta. That's fantastic. I'm going to tie him into the book." And so yeah, I'm fluent in Betawi language as well, and I've been traveling to Jakarta, and so there's a lot of elements which sort of ring true, and yeah, that sort of tied into it, and it's just a very it's a you can almost make a movie out of it, and think it's a real story because it's just so well written that one of my friends, Master Paul Mitchell from United Taekwondo, uh, just a hi there, Paul. I'm sure he's watching this. He said, "Is this the story about you that you didn't want people to know as true, so you turned it into a comic book?" I laughed. I said, "No, no, I'm not a criminal. I'm not a drug dealer."
Well, that just shows how good the book is. Someone, and people that going, is he playing a real part here? Is he telling us in secret what's really going on with his, with his life? But I think it's really great. Again, everyone, I definitely recommend getting a copy, and it's streaming across the screen where you can go on Amazon and you can pick up a copy of the book. This has come out to be a bestseller, still in the bestseller category. So let's, I'll share how does that really work. Well, becoming a bestseller, there you have all these different categories, and then we have an international bestseller, which takes in all other countries to be able to do that. And we have to totally really research all the categories and find out, where does the book fit, how much is the competition, and how do we move forward. So there's a whole system in being able to do that. In Elite Publications, we have a great grip on that. I pretty much know what every book is doing. How do we become competitive? what do we do? It's a very tedious process of sitting and watching and waiting and changing and all these different things that come in there. But that is powerful. So now in your title, you're not just a martial artist, not just a realtor. You're now a best-selling author. So you've got what I would call the meat on the bone when it
Mm.
comes to publishing. And now when you are introduced or on your social media, all of these things play a part. And if for martial artists that are thinking about, or anyone, I just happen to be in this particular interview with a martial artist, but it doesn't matter what genre you want to write in, or
No, it
do you
doesn't.
want to be you want to have it as an audible book or whatever. There's so many
Mm.
things to do, and I
There's
want
so many
everyone to be
tools. So many tools as well. Like
right.
you've got Chat GPT to correct your English.
Mm-hmm.
To all that sort of stuff. You've got platforms like Fiverr, which can help you, like they did me, format the story into a comic book. You can find we got access to everybody in the world that can do everything. So that this is probably the golden era to writing books and publishing books, and also for them to, if they're good enough, to turn into movies, because now with so many streaming platforms so desperate for movies. I think it's the golden era for movies as well, because I look at these movies that come out on platforms like Netflix and Paramount and Disney, and every celebrity that's ever made a movie is now a star. It's like there's so many actors which I've never heard of that will go. One TV series will come out. There'll be one actor that's done something, early on, and then he'll be the star, and then everybody else is unknown. I think there's not one out of work actor in America, in Hollywood.
Right, and that's the great part of the era of technology. That's what is important. Being able to do that and open the doors, because I remember way back when you published, it was time consuming. It was super
Mm,
expensive to do. You had to go
very
buy all
expensive.
these books and stock all these books and all these
Mm.
different things that happen. So now when you look at writing, then you can really take a look at, okay, what is I want, and starting with the end in mind. So we do you. I know this is volume one, so you're thinking about, are you about ready to launch volume two?
Yes, look, I'm involved in a little bit of real estate work at the moment. I've put some houses on the market, and I'm just kind of waiting for them to sell in the next month or so, just so I can save up a bit of money and fund the next few comic books. But I'm already getting friends and family telling me they want to read the next book.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm gonna have to produce it earlier than what I thought. I've had one of my friends say that he doesn't want to read the first one. He wants to read all five. So he's waiting for all five to come out because he wants to binge read them all.
Uh-huh. So he's about like me in these series that I get involved in. Want to get into it and really get into it. But I think that you're doing a really great job, and the work that you're doing. And again, we're in different parts of the world, but yet and still, we can bring our work together. We can collaborate, and to really be able to make these things here happen in there. So, anything else that you'd like to share with us?
No, look, I'm just excited to have it published. I think Amazon is such a great platform because you don't, like, my mum wrote a book and she published about 50 copies, which she sold most of to her church, to her Christian church. Me being Christian, I thought that was wonderful. But with the platform of Amazon, you can just get one copy, 20 copies, 30 copies, 99 copies at a time. And it's amazing. And I had someone at the church say to ask me, "How many copies do you have? How many copies do you have?" I said, I don't have any copies. I could order 10, 20, in his. So he said, really? I said, yeah, it's pay per print. So he pulled out his mobile phone, he ordered it on the spot, and he says, oh, it says here it's coming to me tomorrow. How does that happen? He was very surprised. He says, well, when you order it, there's a machine somewhere that's printing as you've ordered it, goes to print, and it gets sent out to you straight away, which is absolutely mind boggling.
So how was that experience? You can, I'll go in danger land. How was the experience of working with Elite Publication?
Oh, it was wonderful. I was surprised that the quality of the book was so good. I was expecting just like a comic book, thin pages and just color pages like an old style comic book. But what I got was more of a glossy sort of harder, so not hardcover, but sort of a thicker sort of cardboard sort of cover, and it was more like a like a like a book, like a proper book, just a little bit thin, 27 pages, but it was more like a book, and it was something so professionally done. It was just amazing. I didn't think it would turn out that good, but it's just so professionally done. It's just, yeah, really worth the effort of going through the process, and Elite made it so much easier. I just gave you the file of the comic book, and it was just done so well. The back cover, the front cover, the inside. It was the print. It's just, yeah, it was a lot of effort, I think, on your part to achieve that, but you did it, and it looks. It just looks better than most publications I've seen out there. It's fantastic.
Well, we really do appreciate you trusting us to be able to do your project, and we're constantly trying to promote, constantly trying to make sure that your book get noticed, and we're trying to let our community know that they can become creators. Everyone that is in powerful places, they got a book. It's hard for you to turn on the media, and especially if you're watching the news, everybody's got a book. So this is what makes them an expert. So if
Yeah,
if our listeners, if you're running a martial arts school or a daycare center, then a children's book is a perfect book to help you to be able to market your
mm,
facility. By having a great story, you can get your message out. Or, like I said, in a comic book, you can
mm,
go and become creative. And so, as I said before, I look at the number of books I sell. That big plateau that I try to give as a goalpost. Let's sell that first 500 copies. A lot of
yeah,
authors, they sell 20 copies, 30 copies, and that's the lifespan of their book. But I'm always, really trying to reach out to our authors and say, let's market. Let's say, can send it over here. Let's post in this group. Let's do things to let people know. And I know for
mm,
myself, especially getting into the martial arts, a magazine. I saw my first karate magazine, and it had a picture of Chuck Norris in there holding a giant trophy cup. I knew at that moment I wanted to be a martial arts champion. So that publication really influenced the launch of my career. So when you read a book, it has an impact on your life for you to want to move to that next level, or just to
mm.
have enjoy a good story.
Yeah, and no, absolutely, absolutely, and the story can be about a life that you want to have, that you fantasize about, or if you're a superhero, you turn yourself into a superhero. We all imagine as a child what would it be like if we had superpowers. You can write a book about that. You might know somebody that's got a really interesting life, and they keep getting asked, why don't you should write a book about this, you should write a book. Well, take ask their permission, write a book about them. There's so many, there are so many things that can inspire you to write about, like what's your dream job, and say you come up with an idea of what your dream job, and you're doing it, and you're traveling around the world, and you're fighting crime, or there's so many areas you can go into, writing about. That's we've got all the tools. We have all the tools now. We've got the technology to write amazing content. uh, there's, you never know, it might turn into a movie. You could, definitely. How many movies come from comic books and from stories? Is that most of them? These days, it's so hard to come across a decent movie like in the past. So I think they're starving. Hollywood is starving for storylines, for good stories, and it's just, it's just a matter of time before they stumble upon something good that they read, and then, yeah, this is all of a sudden you might have a movie on your hands. It's stranger things have happened.
Well, and exactly is that you never know until you try, and plus
Yeah.
you're building your imagination. So, I'm celebrating in December. Well, yeah, in December, I'll be launching my number 53 books. So, I got but this year's just a sign of 53 things I've done.
Wow.
What is goal setting. I'm a
Awesome.
bowler, so I've got books on bowling. Martial
Yeah.
artists got books on martial artists. Meditation. So so whatever you are doing, that's a good place for you to write from. So
Mm.
what are you experiencing in life that would help me? And again, just like with your comic book, it helps me to sit down and read something and enjoy it. So
Yeah.
bringing pleasure to our lives. What
Mm.
what exactly are you doing? So this is a great way. Well, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to allowing Elite Publications to publish your book, and really thank you for the friendship that we have developed over the years. And again, you're doing a great job, and just let us know when you would like for us to be able to help you in any way. Please let us know. But again, thank you so much for being a part of our publishing. And, like I said, we're just going to keep supporting you and keep, putting you out there because of the work that you've done, and continue to build that international connection with you. And if you have other people that you feel that our publication would be a benefit for them, please refer them over.
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for making this such a fun and easy journey.
You're welcome, sir. Everyone, remember, everyone has a story. You just have to get it out. This is Jessie Bowen. Be blessed until the next time.
God bless.